Hey, so I'm back with another video. So today we are doing kind of like a off-kilter thing. I did not review the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because that last episode was boring. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not going to hop on here if there's nothing to talk about. But, I saw that there was a trailer on Netflix for this show called Members Only Palm Beach. Now, initially I was like, I'm not going to watch this shit because I saw that these bitches was like talking about Mar-a-Lago and all this shit. And I know how they get down over there in Palm Beach. And I'm just like, girl, do I even really want to like watch this nonsense, right? So I was like, all right, let me put it on. Let me give it a chance. So first of all, Real MAGA Housewives is pretty much what this is. And when I mean MAGA, I don't even mean MAGA in the sense of like what you think of a typical MAGA person. I'm just saying it in the sense of like, these are the people that are like married pretty much to like all the people that's pretty much controlling like Donald Duck. These are the people that are like either married to them or not even married, but within those same circles, right? So I thought this show was interesting for a few reasons. Y'all know I always got notes. So first of all, I thought it was interesting because, like I said, I was so tired of hearing about MaraSwamp. But what I will say is that it did give a little bit of OG Real Housewives in a few ways. Number one, the wealth, right? Because everybody there is extremely wealthy. So even at some point in time when like the girls was talking about how somebody was dressed, I think the producers might have asked somebody like, do you think she don't got no money? And the person was like, no, she is not broke. So I love the fact that, similar to like when the Housewives first started off, being broke was never even like really like a consideration, because the whole point of Housewives is we're supposed to have wealthy women on this show. So this is wealthy women on this show. So yes, you get to see their wealth and their money and how it's spent, but it's like not like the focal point because everybody has money. So when everybody has money, that's not really a talking point. We're more so focused on the connections, which is what the Real Housewives was supposed to be. Okay? Connections with the women, those relationships and how those play out, but more so in like a high society realm, right? So it gave me that. It also gave me like the first 2 seasons of Potomac with like the etiquette thing, because I don't know if y'all was watching Real House of Potomac from the very beginning, but like them first 2 seasons, the reason why we even call her grand dame is because Giselle did on Potomac, because Karen was very like, you have to have etiquette, and in Potomac we're etiquette, we're sophisticated, and we're this and we're that, and there's rules that you have to follow. It was given very much so that. So for that part, I appreciated it. I also appreciate the show because there is nobody on here that I like due to their affiliation off top, right? I don't see it for none of y'all, but as I watched the show, there is not one redeeming person on this show to me. So it was easy to watch because there was nobody to root for. Every single last one of these girls are trash. Like I said, outside of like their affiliation or whatever, they're just trash friends. They're terrible people. They're fucking social climbers. They're grifters. They are all of the things that you would expect people within that Mar-a-Lago circle to be. So it's like, this is an easy watch because I can honestly care less about any of you bitches. So it was easy for me to watch in that sense. Like by episode 2, I kind of got that everybody wasn't shit. So I was like, oh, this is going to be an easy watch for me. I also think, speaking of like the MaraSwamp of it all, right? So this was interesting simply because, normally when we are talking about MAGA, we're normally talking about like regular everyday people, and we don't get, how like somebody living where like a lot of them is from, like the middle of Bucks County, which I'm not that far from, or Bryn Mawr, which I know where that is too because I live in Pennsylvania. We normally think about MAGA from those people, right? Like, and we be like, why would you even, you're caping for a man that's super, super rich that don't give a shit about you. But it's interesting to see how the people who are right there pretty much like within that little social circle or bubble act, especially when it comes to him. I find it interesting that these people genuinely, and I find it hilarious also, these people genuinely don't give 2 flying fucks about this man. Like, these are probably the same people that, you know, voted for him and go up for him. But in all reality, what this show showed me is that them people don't respect him. They look at him the way that the rest of us with brains actually peep it, which is he's just a vessel for other things to get done. So the only person on this show that constantly hypes up the fact that they're around Donald Duck is Romina, which is weird because she's the youngest one, right? Weird, but not weird with her being the youngest one. I'll explain that later. But with all of the rest of the girls, even when she says that, it doesn't really move them. They don't even refer to him as like president, da 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 da, which a lot of the Republicans will tell you, oh, y'all so disrespectful, da da da. But they don't even refer to him as that. They call him Don. That's what they call him. And they talk about it so passe, like it's not the way that like the everyday MAGA person looks at him. The people that's right there next to him don't look at him like that at all. They understand the power that he has around him, but they don't look at him like he's that nigga at all. And that was very clear with how all of them except Romina talked about him, or like whenever he came up, whatever. It was very just like, oh, that's another nigga up the street. Because in our reality, that's what he is. He's just another rich white man that lives in Palm Beach. And that's exactly how it seems like he's treated by the rest of, it seems like the circle downer. It just seems like they understand that the power is around him. So it's not necessarily about being seen with him in particular. It's more so the people that's within that room have power to do certain things. And I'm going to speak on that in a little bit too, right? So I just found that interesting that like, I was going to be annoyed because I'm like the whole Mar-a-Lago thing. But what I will say though is that even outside of them treating him, like I said, like he's just another average person. Also, it doesn't, now Gail is clearly full MAGA, but it seems like they're not all like, they don't completely believe all of the shit that comes out of his mouth. Obviously, because at one point in time, Romina at one of the events was like, oh yeah, you know, like COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise a little bit. And everybody at the table got quiet. They was like, no, it was not a blessing in disguise. Massive people died behind COVID. Like, people was like, I had people that died from COVID. I had people that. So it wasn't a whole bunch of people sitting around being like, oh, COVID wasn't a real thing. So it's like, it seems like some of them is just like, from what we all understand, is just playing the game. Not to say that I respect it. I don't respect that at all. I just think it's interesting to see from the social circle you know that he's in. You know it, right? So I thought that was really interesting. Also, like I said, real wealth, right? All of these bitches got money. It's very clear. It's not even up for debate. All these bitches got money. And more importantly, the events are eventing. I'm so tired of these reality shows happening and y'all talking about us, y'all throwing an event. And like the Real Housewives, I'm sorry, of Potomac, I gotta keep bringing y'all up. You just have a fucking rec center that you bring some damn Popeyes to. Like, they put y'all events to shame. When we talking about events, that's what we're talking about. Those type of events. It also too gave me like, because obviously I know it's Palm Beach, Florida, but it also gave me like the first few seasons of Real Housewives of Miami, especially with the charity thing, because when Real Housewives of Miami, the first few seasons, like 2 seasons, they was really, really heavy on that charities, you know, events. Because y'all know with the whole high life and the social climbing and shit, once you get to a certain amount of money, it's just about like the women just throwing charity events every 5 seconds and going to balls and dressing up. That's pretty much in social climbing, doing all that shit. So yeah, that's pretty much that on that. So yeah, so I'm definitely not going episode by episode for these hoes. Absolutely the fuck not. We're gonna go through the cast and then we're gonna go through like pretty much the overall issues that kept coming out throughout the whole season, right? So let's start off with the first person we meet, which is Hillary, okay? Hillary, it says this is like her 20th, I think, season or whatever in Palm Beach. Now, she lives in West Palm Beach. Now, to be fair, right? Because this came up later when Gail, Rosalind, and Romina was sitting at the table together. And Romina was like, well, you know, I know Hillary. She's from Palm Beach. And they both said West Palm Beach. Now, that is shady. And at the end of the day, like Hillary said, if you look at her house, do you think she cares? I wouldn't care, bitch. But I will say that when I went on Twitter, one of the first things that I saw when I clicked the hashtag was not a bitch that's from West Palm Beach being like the glue of it. Like, they pretty much were saying that like West Palm Beach is not real Palm Beach. So I'm pretty sure, like they said at the end, it's a real thing, but it's not a real thing. Like, nobody cares for real, for real. But I guess some people care. But anyway, Hillary's been there for for 20 years or whatever. Now, she is kind of set up to be seen as, like, the centerpiece kind of the show a little bit, but at the end of the day, we come to find out it's really Romina that's really like the centerpiece of the show. But they try to set Hillary up as being that. Again, she's the one that's been there the longest. You know, she talks about how, I think she said she was married 5 times, right? Yeah, 5 times or whatever, and her current husband is the doorman that she met or whatever at a hotel. I said, could you imagine being a doorman? Going from living the lifestyle of a doorman to multi-million-dollar status. And I know this man is frugal. She said her husband is frugal, but I believe it because in the very first episode, when she was throwing an event, again, a real live event, okay, at her house, and he had pulled up late or whatever. Mind you, this is a multi-million-dollar house on the water. Probably a multi-million-dollar car he probably got, or $100,000 car he got, and he pulled up and he was like, I am so sorry. I was trying to get here. I got a speeding ticket. It was $257. $257. I am so sorry. I said, yo, if this man still got flashbacks of when he was a doorman, because that is crazy. $257 like ticket, that's kind of crazy. So I felt that to be funny. But anyway, at first, this is what I want to say about Hillary. At first, you got me, girl. You got me. Because at first, I thought that Hillary's issue with a lot of these girls was going to be the simple fact that she pretty much like worked to get her money versus the rest of the girls kind of like married to get their money, or they're with their spouse or whatever. So they don't necessarily like work. And I want to touch on that for a really quick second. I've had this conversation a lot with the shift, you know, over the last 50, 60 years, you know, with women coming more into the workforce or whatever. There is this little underlying little tangent thing with women where women who work, right, which at this point in 2025 is the majority of women, but women who work do look at women who don't work kind of side-eye. They do. And there's just kind of been always this tension between, like I said, women who go to work and then women who just kind of, you know, traditional women, housewives, stay at home, their husband pay the bills. They're always, in 2025, if you are a traditional housewife, the average woman does look at you side-eye, and they do look at you kind of like a little bit less than. Like, for example, if you watch Married to Medicine, look at the way that Dr. Jackie talks about Toya. There's a reason for that. It's not just because, oh, I'm a doctor and you're not. It's, I'm a doctor and I work and you don't. And Hillary did say, she was like, I have a problem, you know, with like women who don't work. So at first I was trying to understand a little bit like, okay, I understand somewhat women who feel like I like got this money because I made it myself, you know, like I'm a self-made person, which she kept saying, I'm self-made versus somebody who's not. However, what I come to find out doing my Googles, and at the very last episode that was brought up, is one of those 5 husbands that you was divorcing was a billionaire, and he died. You dated him when you was 30 and he was like 70 or 80 something. So I'm not to say that Hillary does not work, but I don't like how all season she tried to paint it as if she really got this shit from out the mud. Every single thing she got it out the mud. When in all reality, yes, you work now, and you probably did work when he was alive. But the point of the matter is, you got here because of a billionaire that you married. Please. So please, like, the looking down on everybody else about the whole, oh, I don't respect people that don't work when you literally fucked somebody twice your age to get the bag. I don't want to hear that. Sorry, Hillary, don't want to hear it. But I was with her at first. Not to say that I agree, but I understand. When I understand, like, that idea of, like, what do you mean? Like, I got this on my own, so you can only talk to me a certain way because you didn't bust your ass to get what you got. I did. But, girl, you married a billionaire. You didn't bring that up, which I thought was very interesting. I will say that her husband do kind of come off like a little bit of a do-boy for her. I mean, I guess what else is there for him to do? Like, I'm pretty sure he ain't no damn doorman no more. But, I don't know. She just treated him very, like, you're like honestly, like she met him, the doorman. That is exactly how she treats him. And again, she's trying to be positioned as the queen of like Palm Beach or whatever. Then we move on and we go to Raja. Raja is probably the person that I have the least amount of issues with, other than like her overall affiliation with this group of people. And I do feel like there was certain times throughout this show. First of all, racism was very clear, loud, and blatant throughout this whole show. Very. I feel like Raja like was complicit in some of that racism, especially when it came to like the people that was like serving them on the boats and stuff. Like, to me, that's what I noticed. She will always make fun of the fact that either like Rosalind like didn't understand, or maybe the server didn't get something right. It's like, oh, did you even understand what they said, or did he even understand what you said? Like, girl, calm down, please. Something else too that I'm gonna talk about when I get to Romina is Romina and Raja's. Now Raja embraced it at the end, but Raja's and Romina's, like, their whitewashing of themselves around these other white bitches. But we're going to talk about that later. Marie is, I would call her, like, eclectic. Like, she real out there. She's the DJ, whatever, which I think part of the reason why she's a little bit probably more... Now, she is super emotional. This is a fact. But she does seem a little bit more grounded than everybody else. And I do think that's because, like she said, she is a DJ. So, normally when she goes to events, she is treated differently because she is the DJ. And then when people find out she actually got bread, it's like, oh, okay. But we saw Rosalind pretty much talk down on her and say, like, who you want to get help from, like the DJ of the event or the person actually planning it. So I feel like that's why she acts like that. But she's also extremely emotional. And we'll talk about her and her over emotional ass. Then we have Rosalind, right? Rosalind, to me, is the real life version of a Stepford wife, if you ever seen that before. She's a real life version of a Stepford wife. She gives me very much so like Erica Kirk a little bit. That lady is in pain, but she's still not a good person. Like, I can acknowledge the fact that somebody is in pain and you're still a terrible person at the same time, because everything about Rosalind is made up. And I'm talking about just what she puts forward, right? It's fake, it's fraudulent, it's phony, it's staged, it's very Erica Kirk, it's very pageantry, it's very full of shit. That is not who she really is. That video that they showed in 2016 of her popping, locking, and dropping it in her Zumba class, that's who she really is. And at the end of this season, all I got, especially with her snapping out the way she did the last 2 episodes, what I got is that is a repressed woman. That is a woman that is living a very much so repressed life. She is very unhappy. She can't be who the fuck she wants to be. She can't act the way that she wants to act, which is a lot of her problem with Romina, because she sees something that she would like to do, but she no longer can for whatever reason. You know, she chooses not to, being within that circle. But that is a repressed woman, and that's why she's so angry, and you see that anger come up like that. And she even said, I'm the type of person that I don't speak up for myself. So I can only imagine, I bet you when she told her husband, which mind you, we never saw Rosalind's husband. The only husband we did not get to see on the show was Rosalind's husband. And to me, I looked this nigga up to see if he was somebody important. He ain't nobody that damn important from what I read. Like, not that important, but it gives very much so like, bitch, I'm gonna let you on this show. Like, if her husband, bitch, I'm gonna let you on the show, but I'm never gonna be on the show. And I promise you, if you have one hair out of place on this show, you act a fool if you want to. That's your ass. That's what Rosalind gave. Fake, fraudulent, phony, very Stepford wife, very, my husband told me to come here and smile and not act the damn fool, which, I mean, of course, you shouldn't be acting a fool, but like, she's very repressed. And at the end of the season, terrible person, because Rosalind has a lot of racist ass tendencies as well, which we'll get to. Clearly she's very elitist, but as somebody that I'm not that far away from where she's from, like Bucks County, because I'm in PA, whatever, like, those are very, I find it interesting, right? Because to come from Bucks County, you're talking about very, like she said, she's not lying, very small town, not everybody knows everybody type shit. The most exciting thing you're gonna do is a Zumba class, maybe go to the mall, maybe go out to eat, maybe bowling. But that is the extent of your excitement. As somebody that lives not that far away from there, that is the extent of your excitement. So it's like, to go from that, or similar to where I am now, social wise, and to go there must have been a crazy ass culture shock for her. Very much so a culture shock, because you have to put on in a way down there that you don't have to do up here. Don't nobody give a shit about that up here. Nobody cares. You got money or you don't. And most people up here is like working class type shit. So even if you do have like somewhat, you know, of money, it's very working class type shit. So I found Rosalind to be an interesting character. She still ain't shit though, I'm gonna tell you that, but she still ain't shit. Then we have Romina, okay? So she is the youngest, okay? This show was damn near pretty much based around her, kind of, sort of. Romina is from, she kept saying, Uzbekistan? No, oh, sorry. Because, see, she said about 15 times, and I still did. Uzbekistan. That's where she's from, okay? And, like I said, she's the youngest. She said she made her money, because her and her brother owned, like, a healthcare agency. They sold it for, like, $42 million. That's how she got her money. My thing with Romina is this right here. This is really gonna wrap up everything I gotta say about her. We'll keep going into depth though. This show kind of paints it or sets it up to where, like, you could tell the production, like, wants the audience to feel bad for Romina throughout, like, this whole thing, because it's very like, oh, you shouldn't be yourself, like, don't dress like this, don't talk like this, don't do like this, don't be like this, do like this. So it's like the show wants you to feel bad for Romina, but at no point do I. You are literally trying to force yourself into a situation that, at the end of the day, and I put this on Twitter, I need her to understand this, right? Because one thing she kept doing that I noticed very much so throughout this show is she kept leaning heavily on the Russian side of her, and she never talked about the other sides that makes her, I'm not going to say it again because I don't want to say it wrong, but I looked it up to see, like, what is, like, the ethnic makeup of people that, you know, come from that area. And it's not just Russian. Yes, you might have, again, a little bit of Russian in you, but that's not all that you are. And what I realized throughout the show was that you purposely leaned more into your Russian side into anything else because you're trying to whitewash yourself. I need you to understand this. And like I said, I put this on Twitter. I need her to understand this. Romina, you are never going to fit in fully with these people because you are not a white woman from America. She needs to really sit with this. It doesn't matter how you dress. It don't matter how much you claim. This bitch claimed to look like Kim Kardashian. Bitch, no you don't. And I don't even like Kim. You don't look like Kim at all. At all. At all. And I don't even like Kim Kardashian. But you don't look like her. So it don't matter how much you try to Kim Kardashian your way into it, which is whitewash yourself. It don't matter what party you throw, what you wear, what you eat. You will never fully be accepted by these people because the point of the matter is that they look at you like you are a brown person. You are a brown immigrant person. They clearly don't care that you've been here since 1991, since you've been 5. That means nothing to these people. And the fact that you sat here all season and is going to continue to do it, to put yourself into a tizzy, to conform yourself and whitewash yourself so much to fit in with these people. Romina at one point in time in the show said that she would only feel like somebody if she was in a room with Trump and Elon. That might be one of the saddest things I've heard in 2025. That's really, really sad, especially when what I said earlier is that does not even move these bitches because they're in the room with him too. So and like I said, this is one of the things I like about the show is the fact that everybody for the most part is, I know like there's levels to wealth, but for the most part everybody is kind of somewhat on like the same playing ground. So again, like we get to later with Gail, with you name dropping, that doesn't do nothing for us because we're all pretty much in the same room. Why would I be impressed with you being in the room with Elon's weird ass if all of us is in a room with Elon's weird ass? That doesn't move us. So it's like, okay, you got in a room with him. Okay, great. Now what? Now what? It does not matter. You're never gonna be accepted fully from these people. You are an immigrant. And you are not even a pure white immigrant. You got a hint of brown to you, which is why you will never be accepted. So no, I didn't feel for Romina not once this whole time. These people were blatantly being racist to your face, and you still decided to apologize. There's also, outside of like just regular eliteness, there's also this thing that she has that I see like a lot of immigrants do to American people, like American people, you know, that were born here, and also other immigrants as well. This idea that like, oh, I'm so much better than the other immigrants and the people that was made here because I came here and I actually made a whole lot of money. Like there is a sense of like you feel better than everybody else. And something else too, because I'm going in on Romina, but also you coming from Philly and coming down here, that is two different things. Because the way that you can stunt in Philly in the freaking socio-economic situation up there versus down here is very much so different. And what people give a fuck about down there in Palm Beach, like they said, versus in Philly are two different fucking things. Two different things. It's much real easy for you to fucking feel like you up top when you up there. Yeah, because like you said, you probably the richest one out of all of your friends. So it's easy to feel like that. But come down and be around real wealth. You'll see how the fuck it feels. You ain't really moving nothing around here in the grand scheme of things. You should have kept your ass in Philly where at least you would have been appreciated somewhat. But these bitches was being directly racist to your face and you still felt the need to apologize? Which, let's move on to Gail for a second, because my thing is Gail a castmate or not? Because it seems like she was kind of positioned as like friend of the show or whatever. But Gail, her old racist, tired, delayed, nostalgic ass, we're tired of you too. Gail comes through. Gail's an older woman that's supposed to be mentoring Rosalind or whatever, right? And her and Rosalind got some freaking love affair. Rosalind's all up her ass. Gail's like, oh, I'm passing you the baton to Palm Beach and be the queen because I used to do all the charity events and now you do. And she loves to name drop. She's going to tell you every 5 seconds, oh, I did this with this person and this person. That, like, she just name drops all the fucking time. And then when it comes to Romina in particular, about 3 to 4 different racist comments within this show, just that I caught off top. Ain't no telling all the other underhanded shit she was doing. Get that old bitch off my TV too. Okay? But, I'm just trying to sit here. So, like I said, I'm not gonna go through every single episode because as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a shit enough about these women to do that. I just want to kind of hit on some overall issues here. So, let's see. So, I think I have like maybe 4 or 5 issues that kind of took control throughout the whole season. So the first real big storyline is the mentoring of Romina. Okay, so again, Romina came down here to Palm Beach. She wants to fit in. She wants to be with the who's who. Can I say this too about Romina now that we're here? Her and her husband give straight grifters, straight social climbing. Now let me be clear. Everybody here is social climbing. That's the whole point of the game. However, it seems to me, in my opinion, it seems to me that, for example, Rosalind's social climbing to me seems like she's actually doing something with it. Like she's not just hosting these events and networking. I'm pretty sure Rosalind and her husband are moving and shaking with these connections that they're building. Nothing about Romina gives me that her or her husband is coming within these social circles. Like, they may say, oh, we're coming to be to get connected, but nothing about them gives like we're really here to like try to make some more money and connect with these people so that we could grow our wealth. It's giving we just want to be in the same room as these people just to say that we're in the same room. Because I didn't hear throughout this whole season not once Romina talk about what she wants to do as far as the connections. All she says that she wants to be in a room, but she's not saying I want to be in a room so that I can start this new business or whatever, and I can use my different connections to help me grow my business in this way. Or me and my husband, you know, we're trying to connect with these different people so that we can invest a little bit more or learn about this. Y'all just want to be in a room, which is weird to me. Like, if you're gonna sell your soul for the most part, like, sell it for a price. Don't sell it just to be in the room. I think it's weirder that you want to sell yourself out as a fucking immigrant, mind you. And these people in your face, Gail showed you exactly how all of those people in Palm Beach actually feel about you. That's the difference. Rosalind is playing 2025 games with the racism. Gail is giving to you straight 1985. This is actually how we all look at you. You not one of us. You not from here. Period. You not from here. You not us. You an immigrant that eat with your food. You're uncouth. You're a savage. That's how we look at you down here. All of us. Rosalind is giving it to you very 2025 style. Like, oh no, you just need to change your hair and maybe if you cover. No. So, like I said, the whole point is that they're here to mentor Romina because she wants to be part of whatever little social circle that they're in. So the whole season is this whole back and forth of like, is Rosalind a good a good mentor for her, but Hillary is also trying to be a mentor for her as well. My thing with Romina in particular, like I said, I don't like her period just because of a lot of what came out of her mouth as far as her stances. And I think, take her stances off the table, she is a very flip-flop person, and she's one of them people that jumps back and forth and runs her mouth to both friend groups, because all she did this whole season was complain about person A to person B, talk shit with that person, and then go back to person A and say, oh, well, person B said this about you too. That's all she did all season. She would go to Hillary and talk about Rosalind, and then take whatever Hillary said in between them to go back to Rosalind and say what she said, and then do it again. That was mostly what she did all season, which is why I can't respect her. All you did all season was go from person to person to person to person and run your mouth and complain, and then take what y'all might have been complaining about. Mind you might have started it. Take what y'all talked about and then go back to that same person that you was just mad about and running your mouth about. That's why I don't respect nothing about Romina. You caused a lot of issues this season by playing both sides of the fence. That's pretty much what you did. You literally played both sides of the fence because you were running your mouth to every single person about everything that everybody said about them. Trash, 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 trash. At the end of the day, it comes off to me, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, if I'm listening to what everybody's saying, it sounds like Rosalind is like the new up and coming, fresh, new white woman on the charity scene or whatever, and she's really getting things popping, right? Versus Hillary, who's just more established, and she doesn't necessarily run in the same type of, like public events the way that Rosalind does. I would say that if you really just want to be in a public eye, I guess go with Rosalind, because Rosalind ass is outside every 5 seconds. If you want to more so just be about getting your money, and then your money will put you in those rooms, then I would say have Hillary as your mentor. But Gail as a mentor is fucking terrible, so I don't even know why the fuck that's even being brought up. Other thing that was pretty much going on, like I said, is Gail. Gail overall. Now I will say that little back and forth with Gail and Hillary when they first met, that shit was hilarious. I ran that shit back twice. That was so funny on both. But Gail walks around thinking that it is still 1991 and she's still married to her husband. And this is Palm Beach of that time, and oh, I do this and I do that. So all Gail does is walk around telling Rosalind every 5 seconds how she's the queen of the world. name dropping left and right. And Hillary pretty much had to check her and be like, girl, we don't care about none of that. And that's one thing I will, like I said, that I kind of like about the show is that because everybody is wealthy, there is no point of name dropping. We all know somebody important. We all got a lot of money. So there are certain things that they said that was like, oh, faux pas, that I don't agree with. But some things I do think it's faux pas to talk about money all the time and to name drop like that. It's nasty work. It's nasty work. And Gail got on my damn nerves. She looked like she was drunk every 5 seconds. Like, was she intoxicated the whole season? Because every time she popped up on season, her wig was, bitch, askew. I don't even have... The wig was, first of all, the wig was starting all the way back here. And then it was like, askew. Askew. Askew, bitch. Askew, askew, askew. It was the whole time it was askew. This bitch fell once and almost fell 3 more damn times or whatever. What a hot ass mess. Then Gail was clearly and very obviously racist to Romina a few times. The first time, they was sitting there, it was her and Rosalind and Romina, I think at like a store, right? And they was asking her about her background. And she was like, I want to make sure. Uzbekistan. And she was like, oh, you're Pakistan. Yes, I lived in Dubai. And goes on, she was like, girl, I did not say Pakistan. I said Uzbekistan. And she was like, oh, well, do you guys like eat with your like when did you guys come over or something like that? And Romina was like, oh, well, we came in over in 1991, so we've been here for a long time. And before that, Romina was saying how when her husband first went to like the very first like fancy dinner at Palm Beach, they didn't know like how to use the silverware, you know, like which fork to start with or whatever. So then Gail gonna say, so you've been over here this long and they didn't teach you how to eat in America? I said, bitch, how much more racist can these people be to your face? And then the scene later, right, where it's where they had the etiquette coach come for Romina, because the biggest thing with Romina is they don't like the way that she dressed and they feel like she's too loud and she does a lot. I feel like for the most part, Romina's outfits, they don't necessarily, her outfits just don't be on theme to me. Like, it's not necessarily like that there's something wrong with the actual outfits. She does wear a lot of leather, which she does need to calm down. But it's mostly that she just don't ever be on theme for anything. Like, her themes be completely off. So, anyway, they sat her down with an etiquette coach. And during that whole back and forth or whatever, right, the conversation was about Romina was throwing a birthday party, and she, I think, like, had, like, 2 charities or whatever that was connected to her event, and was like, oh, you know, in her invitation, she was like, if you want to come, you know, you can donate to these charities or whatever, and they'll pick, you know, whatever charity you want to donate to, but also, if you don't want to bring something, you can just bring cash, which people thought was very, very, like, unclassy. Now, I want to say this, hun. Yes, outside of Russian culture, that is very tacky. It is very tacky to fuck Palm Beach. I'm talking about in general. In America, period. It is very tacky to put on your invitation to bring cash. Now, I understand that that is a Russian culture thing. I get that. But I think it's weird for you not to think it's weird for people outside of your culture to not look at that like some way. I also agree with them when they said there was no point of you adding the charities. Now, they asked her, I think Marie asked her, did you add the charities there because you really cared, or you did it because you wanted to be seen? Oh, no, because I really cared, but then you said they could just get off there. No, you added the charities on there because you are getting coached by Rosalind, and you're getting coached by Hillary, and specifically when it comes to Rosalind, you know she's connected to all of these charities and events, so that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to somewhat throw a charity event, but also make it your birthday, but also not give any bread. Because what also doesn't make any sense is that she said that she pretty much wanted the cash that everybody gave her to pay for her birthday party, and it's like, yeah, like Rosalind said, that's like some behind the scenes shit that you do calculating on your own, like, okay, I'm going to spend X, but I'm going to tell people to bring cash, and hopefully they give me, you know, enough money to just pay for this so I can offset everything, whatever. That's fine, but to actively ask for people to give you money so that you could cover your birthday is ridiculous, and especially to have a charity connected to that. Like, it is a hot-ass mess, Romina. It is indeed a hot-ass mess. I didn't like that, but during that conversation, right, like I said, they're going back and forth over that. And just like the difference of how they feel. And to me, this really should have like sealed it for Romina. I guess this bitch just don't care. But both Rosalind and Gail both said, because I think she was like, in my culture, she's like, this is not your culture. This is America. And what Rosalind said in her confessional was, she was like, you keep talking about Uzbekistan. This is not Uzbekistan. This is America. And most importantly, this is Palm Beach. So what she's saying is, bitch, this is sundown town. Not only is this America, because, I mean, it's one thing to say America. America is a whole bunch of different cultures. That's not a big thing. But specifically when she says this is Palm Beach, this is very 1950s white America down here. That's the way we roll down this way. If you don't want to conform to 1950s white America version that we got going on down here in Palm Beach, you could get your brown ass and get the fuck up out of here. And that's pretty much what they were saying to you, is that we don't care about your brown ass savage, and I'm not saying this, but this is how it was coming out. Your savage ass like culture. You want to be part of this culture, you need to conform to white standard culture down here. And this is how we don't like all that brownie shit that y'all got going on over there. This is how we do it over here in America. So I don't understand why, for her right then and there, them being very blatant and saying that we don't give a fuck about your culture, we don't care that, because when she said it's my birthday party, which she's right, if it's her birthday party, why she got to do it a certain way? For them to say in your face and say we don't give two shits about your culture, fuck your culture, bitch, this is America, but you still want to be around them. That's why I say I don't care. All these bitches sat in your face multiple times and told you they didn't give a shit about you, your culture, being very racist throughout the whole show, and you still want to be part of. So I do not care about anything that happened to her throughout the show. I don't give a shit. Like I said, I did the whole birthday debacle, and then Marie's crying ass. So Marie just cries every 5 seconds. And my thing is, in the second episode or whatever, she was triggered because Rosalind brought something up about like mental health or whatever. So she goes on to tell a story about, how her mom really struggled with mental health and how, she was, very rough on her, whatever. So the first time she told her, I said, oh, okay, well, this kind of gives some little insight into who you are. But from there, she continued to use it over and over. And to me, Marie reminds me of one of those people who never finished therapy. Like, they went to therapy maybe 3 or 4 times and heard okay, well, I think you might be this way because of your childhood, and was just like, oh my gosh, that's it clicks, and then just never went back to therapy. Because just because you can, I say this to people all the time, just because you can identify the problem, right, that does not mean that you are now healed from said problem. What is that quote I keep hearing? Your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility, or something like that. Oh no, your trauma is not your responsibility, but your healing is, right? And it comes off to me, Marie, like Marie has not done the work. You've identified that this is why you act the way that you act, but you have not done one thing to actually heal that. Whoever your therapist is that you pulled up right there in front of us, either she's not a good therapist or you're not being honest with her about how you're actually conducting yourselves amongst people. Because no, there's nothing wrong with, for example, I think that Hillary was dead ass wrong for coming at you and saying oh, this is not the time for that, and da-da-da-da, because, you was having a moment. I don't think that was the right thing to say. I think it was wrong for her to say that you was faking the emotion. I don't think that was the case either. However, I do agree with Romina when she said later to you, you don't understand that you are emotionally dumping. And I had tweeted that before I even seen that episode. I said, does Marina understand that she is emotionally dumping on people when she does that? And on top of that, you're also just not taking responsibility for what you do. You're doing stuff and then saying, well, because my mom, and even if at the core and the root of the situation, that really is why you're acting the way that you are, that is not an excuse. You're a grown-ass woman with a grown-ass fucking child. You need to take responsibility for you and the way that you act. And when you constantly emotionally dump on people, that's not helpful either. Because to me, I think when people are emotionally dumping, I don't think it's the intention is to be burdensome with it. But I do feel like there's a little bit of selfishness that comes with that when you're constantly doing it. And then when, as a friend, I am just identifying to you that every time we hang out, I don't want to be emotionally dumped on. I don't mind talking, but every single time we hang out, if you're crying, it becomes a lot. For you to turn around and try to say, like, oh, well, you're not being a good friend. I'm not being a good friend because every time we hang out, I don't want to sit here and cry and listen to your deep freaking emotional wounds. I'm not your therapist. I'm your friend. But if every single time that we hang out, you are crying, to me, that means that you need to spend more time in therapy and less time with me. More by yourself and working through your own emotional things versus sitting with me all the time. And I don't think Romina was wrong at all for saying that. At all. Marie, to me, is also a fence hopper as well. She hops from fence to fence to fence to fence to fence. It just depends on who's in front of her that she's cool with. I feel like all of them do that, but Romina and Marie, which is crazy because they're best friends, they're the main ones. They're the main ones that do that on the show. Y'all hop, bounce, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But for the most part, I think that was like the major things. Oh yeah, and then Rosalind, like I said, Rosalind and Hillary not really getting along. But for the most part, that was really it. I thought the season was okay. Like I said, I feel nothing for nobody. Romina, you are pathetic. Like, dead ass. For you to be an immigrant, like I said I was going to bring this up later. I am happy that Raja leaned into her North African heritage later in the show. Because I was going to bring it up if I didn't see. Because I'm like, who is her parents? Because she don't give me, like straight white. She gives me that she's mixed with something. Okay. So she's part, like, I don't know what she said, but she's part North African. Okay. Thank you for leaning into it. Because, like I said, what I noticed throughout this show is that Romina and Raja too, but mostly Romina really tried to lean into that Russian side a lot. And it's only because it's the whitest part of you. Not to say that your parents aren't part Russian. I'm not saying that. But you purposefully leaned into a certain part of your ethnicity and your culture, and it was just simply to kind of downplay everything else. And I don't like that shit. And like I said, for you to be an immigrant and everything around that, and you come from Philly, and for you to be around for you to be so excited to be around these fucking people, you and your husband are fucking social climbers, and y'all are fucking grifters, and y'all dumbasses, instead of fucking using this fucking situation, I don't agree, but if you gonna grift correctly, use it for the right fucking things. Y'all niggas just want to be in a room. Y'all don't even want to use it to gain wealth, to gain generation, to even gain more power. Y'all just want to be in a fucking room. Y'all are pathetic. You and your husband are pathetic. Pathetic. All of these bitches is pathetic. But you in particular, you and Raja, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for y'all to be prancing around fucking Mar-a-Lago the way that y'all are, knowing the way these white bitches and their husbands actually not only think about you, but the legislation and the laws and everything that they do to kind of keep people like you from ever making $42 million. Y'all could... All of that to say, it was a cute watch. Y'all get in the comments. Tell me what y'all think. I'm out. Bye.